It is like 20 minutes after 8. I'm sure you all can tell from my face how sick I've been. I look decrepit, but what can you do about it, you know? What can you do about it? You just gotta keep going. I don't know how much strength I have. I don't know how long this will last, but I just wanted to pop on because there have been a few weird stories today, if that's what you want to call them. A few very weird stories today. And everyone may be on everyone else's channels. I never can get these lights set right. They irritate the crap out of me. So, if no one joins in, I'll just leave my little tit for tat, and then we can talk about it in a day or two, and I'm feeling a whole lot better because I'm feeling better, but man, am I tired. I am extremely wiped out from this last flare that I've been dealing with. And then on top of that, all the emotional stuff that I've had to deal with on top of it. It's been a very difficult time. So this is kind of me after flare, after I've had a really bad flare, and I'm just trying to cope. I am feeling better though. Technically I am feeling better. It just takes me a long time to build my strength back to the point where it's very crazy how weak I get so quickly and how long it takes me to bring my strength back. So if anyone noticed in the news today, I'll just go ahead and leave this here. If y'all pop in later, that's great. If anyone noticed in the news today, remains were found that dental records confirm are those of Brian Laundrie. And they were found in Florida. Not too terribly far from where I guess they were actually looking, which is surprising. And when you pair that with the calm behavior of his parents and the almost aloof or dissonant behavior of his parents, you wonder if maybe they knew what was happening and maybe they were letting him make his own mind up. There was no other way out of that entanglement, which is sad. It's very sad to say. But on top of that, then we have a shooting on a movie set where the silliest thing that of the entire movie, of the entire thing, is the movie set is Alec Baldwin's movie set, which Alec Baldwin is a absolute anti-gun persona who raves about gun safety, and they're being kind of weird about the language when they do the stories. But if you dig a little deeper, you can look for the few weeks before that people had been kind of walking off set due to issues that they were having on the set with behavior of the workers. So that's interesting. That makes you wonder if it was completely perchance or just one of those negligent prop masters that did not pay attention, or if perchance it was something a little bit more deceitful at play there. Either way, you have a young lady and mother and wife dead. and everyone wants to point the blame and say Alec Baldwin is completely at fault, which he should have known better. Being an old hand at movies, he should know how props work, and he should know to always, he should have the knowledge at that point in his life to double check a prop that is handed to him. But at the end of the day, they have prop masters and gun masters to monitor the props, the guns. So I want to know who the prop master was. I have somebody with me now. I just had started talking. So it makes you wonder if there was something more at play there in that dynamic on the movie set due to the protests and the walk-offs that were happening the weeks before. So that'll be a story that grows over the next few weeks. I want to, I haven't heard yet and I haven't looked into it because I felt so bad, but I want to know exactly what they're going to be looking at along, like with the remains of Brian Laundrie. And if they're going to tell us anything else about how he passed away, if it was self-inflicted, if it was, or due to elements, because I believe that many of us want to know, and many of us are still struggling. Like if you read Twitter, which is like the devil's playground, but if you read Twitter and you go on other forums, people are still like calling him a murderer, and you know, these are things we will never be able to answer now because he's dead. There will be no justice. There will be no storyline that we can get from the potential perpetrator. Nothing. So he was not wanted for murder at the time, though we all have our heavy suspicions. He was actually just wanted for use of a bank card. So we now have answers or questions that will never potentially be answered, which is very sad. Very sad. You have to look at also how the families are going to deal with this. And Brian Laundrie being found dead is potentially going to be something that's going to cause Gabby's family to struggle with closure and any answers that they had hoped, any questions they had hoped to have answers to. Other than that, it's been really slow, like news day. There's not been a lot happen. The Alec Baldwin case is one that's making everyone go absolutely mad right now. I'm sure Alec Baldwin will somehow learn how to spin this into an anti-gun, gun law proponent. You just know how he thinks. I mean, you just know the man's going to use it. And I will stand up and say that on a movie set, the prop master is responsible for the loading of the weapons, the guarding of the weapons, the security of the weapons, and handing the weapon to the actor that is ready to be used. So the prop master is responsible for the weapon. Now, at that time, I want to know also if Alec Baldwin was handling the weapon without the prop master's approval, if he was using it in a way that was not approved by the scene that he was shooting, if he was acting a fool with it, if it was something that he was doing that was not okay, that was not in the training, that was not approved for the scene. Was his behavior part of the problem or not? Was it purely the incorrect loading of the weapon? There are a lot of questions, but apparently there was live ammunition in this gun. That's the last story that I read. There was actual live ammunition in the weapon. And then you read back about the people walking off set for a few weeks due to behavior by the cast to the people that were working there. Yeah, it makes you wonder if something else was going on there. So a lot of questions that are not going to be answered in the near future. It's going to take a while. But I will say this, as much as I absolutely detest Alec Baldwin, and I do, I really do not care for the man at all, I will say that the prop master should be the first person looked at, and the crew, because that is where, the prop master is where the absolute ownership of the weapon falls to on a set. Now, I've heard many people say that they are speculating that this was actually Alec Baldwin's gun, and I can't believe any of that until it comes out from law enforcement. But I will say that the prop master is responsible for the gun, the loading of the gun, and monitoring the gun and the security of the gun until the gun is used. But now they're saying there was live ammunition in the weapon. And then if you read farther back about the movie, people, the staff were walking off due to conditions on the movie scene, on the movie set. So it makes you wonder if this was someone trying to get even in a very, very, very deviant manner, which is very, very sad. Yeah. But we won't know. We won't know any of these answers for some time to come. And then you look at all the other non-media days, the non-news days that are news days, with President Biden. That hurt to say that. Finding a disabled man by the name of Brandon to try to respin the narrative. I feel like crap. Can you tell how bad I feel? Like this, I wanted to come on and touch base because it's been so long. And I am doing better. I'm on the days where I have to recoup my energy and my body just wants to sleep, to mend itself from everything. But I wanted to come on and touch base and just let you know that I was alive. If you look at my face, you can tell I've had another very bad flare. And so I'm very tired. But that'll pass in the next few days. It'll get better. I'm just tired. But there's been so much stupidity happen today. I had to come on and talk about it. It's just so much stupidity. I'm laying here after I got back from doing blood work. And I'm laying here going, I have to talk about all the stupid crap happening in the world today, because where else would we have this mixture of news coverage? You know, they found Brian Laundrie, but they found 9 other bodies. 9 other bodies. Okay, so they found Brian Laundrie's remains. They've confirmed by dental records it's Brian Laundrie. That's a whole nother bag of worms. But then you go to the Gabby Petito follow-up, and they have now found 9 other bodies. Now, you all know from me preaching to the choir that national parks are a huge place of trafficking and disappearances and horrible, horrible behavior that most parents probably don't even realize happened there until something bad happens to their own family and they're forced to look at it. But national parks are bad places. Sadly, a lot of bad things happen there. But they found 9 other bodies. So it makes you wonder, and apparently the 9 other bodies they found are of all different time periods. So it's very unlikely that it was Brian Laundrie that happened upon all these 9 other people. So was something else going on that we didn't know about? Was something else going on that potentially could have cleared Brian Laundrie's name? We'll never know, because now he's dead. So, you know, the answers to questions will never happen. And you have to think, was he hiding to buy time for something else to happen? Or was he just simply hiding out of cowardice? Never know that now either. But it is interesting that they found 9 other bodies in the general area. How, I mean, does that not strike anyone else as odd? I know that national parks are dangerous places, as I've said before. But you would think that 9 other bodies, if they had performed a search and there had been that many people in the general area, you would think that 9 other bodies would have been found before now had something bad happened to somebody else. And now they're just finding 9 more bodies? Do you want the treat or not? Okay. So it's just kind of weird. You just walked over it. Treat in the floor. Hoover. There you go. It's just strange they found 9 other bodies. Quickly. Easily. So why weren't they found before now? If it was that easy to find them, if they were that easily unearthed or found, why didn't they find them before now? And that opens up a whole other can of worms as to what's going on in that specific area for 9 other bodies to be found, and with the other 2 women that were killed, and with Gabby Petito. It opens up a whole case of speculation about Brian Laundrie's involvement. He's dead. We'll never know now. They found his remains. It's just a sad scenario. And then you still see society running with, he's a murderer, he deserved to die, you know, and you still see society wanting that instant gratification from jumping on somebody that we can't even state that we know did anything other than use a bank card. But people are really jumping fast and hard. Okay, boys, go. No more. Go. All gone. All gone. Go. So, what was that? Samantha Sweet Bear, hi. Yeah, you can tell I'm feeling not the best, but I wanted to jump on and say hi and check in because of the news day we've had. And because guess what's happening at my house again starting this evening right after dark? And I was dead asleep. Yeah, okay, 10, 9. Yeah, 9 more bodies. And while I read 2 stories about it, and they're just highlighting that they found 9 bodies during the overall search for Gabby Petito, and then the search in the generalized area, and then with the other 2 women that were found killed. That's still not the biggest of general areas. 9 more bodies, and they were all of different timelines. So we can't like say Brian Laundrie went to serial killer status because they're all of different timelines due to the decomp. But have you heard many media talk about it? No. No, it certainly raises a lot of questions as to, okay, Gabby profiled much like the ones that we knew about. Now are these others that actually profiled like her as well? I read it this morning. There were 9 other bodies located during the last, I guess, couple of weeks when they were going through the area. And I guess it was just one of those, we need to sweep the area because of all the recent activity and all this crap. 9 other bodies. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to find a story and put it in the community tab so y'all can read it. But I read that this morning when I was just doing my news ramble, and I thought, well, that just creates a whole lot of questions that we will never get answered now, because you know that they will peg that on the easiest alibi. Because sadly there's a lot of laziness going on in our media and our police force right now. Sadly, it's just not the best of circumstances for anyone. But are we about to have to admit a deep dark secret about our national parks that a lot of people have known for a long time? Are they about to have to come out and say, hey, this is not the family friendly environment that we've alluded to them being, especially over in like Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons and I just lost my brain. See, my brain is slow after these flares too. Yesterday my hands wouldn't work. Everything I tried to pick up dropped. My nerves are not sending adequate signals, so I was wobbly and felt like I was mildly intoxicated all day. It was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. Hi, Mindy. So yeah, there's a lot of news that's not making it to, you know, like main sources. So you kind of have to dig a little longer yourself. Now that I'm feeling better, as I read these stories, I will try to save the links and then put the links in the community page. Well, and I'm used to these flares, so I have to just let my energy recoup. Right now, it's the nerve impulses in my hands. My legs are better today. It's the nerve impulses in my hands, and I'm just exhausted. So I'll be okay. Give me a few more days, and I'll be on the up and up. You know, you said you're having a hard time with the whole Petito story. You know, the more that you look at it, and you look at the family, how well connected they were, and the things that Gabby had done already in her life, and then how well connected the other family is, and then the entire discombobulation of the national parks and the other two women, and then just the easy out of Brian hiding and then being found dead, it makes you just think, was this pure distraction? Was this a purely fictional distraction where they picked two people of an age where not a lot of people remember it for a long time, people in that age range that are growing up, that are changing every day? They will not hang on to that story. They may talk about it when they're 50 and go, oh yeah, I remember that when I was young, but they're not going to carry it day to day and think about it. So is this something that has been purely dragged under our noses as a distraction? I mean, look at the easy outs. Every way you turn, there was an easy out, and it's just like, I'm not sure I'm okay with that. I'm not sure that any of us are okay with getting no answers, and it seems like in the last little bit of our news cycle, we're getting stories where we're not getting answers anymore, and so we're getting more and more frustrated. But then you also have to look at our society, who has turned being damagingly devout into into like a virtue signal. So, you know, like 5 masks when you're out in the park alone by yourself and you're wearing 5 masks, but then the woman next to you sits down and goes, oh, I've got on 10. You're damaging yourself, but you feed off of it thinking that you're being devout. And so now the cool thing is to be damagingly devout, to do these things to virtue signal to society, even though it may harm you or harm yourself or someone else. And it's turned like this sick game. And I just sit back and go, okay. Because people tell me, well, I'm murdering people because I don't wear 10 masks when I go out. But the thing is that I rarely go out. And when I do, I go to, you know, the smallest store, in and out quickly. I don't do a lot of social runs anymore. My health, I have to have precautions. So I don't do a lot of social activities anymore. I limit what I do. So, like, if you're thinking, like, carbon footprints, well, my carbon footprint is probably minuscule compared to most people's. But I don't know, everything's become a game or like a virtue signal or this, I don't know, it's just this little, like, it's like we're already on a societal pay scale with behavior. It's just, it bothers me. I know, you see people walking along and they've got on a mask and they're 100 foot from anybody, power walking on the side of the road, and I'm like, man, you're getting stalked by the coof, hey? You know, and, you know, and I respect this virus. I know that it's deadly, but I also know how a virus works, and it's not if, it's when. It's going to get through all of us eventually. That's how a virus works. And just had a really good friend pass away from it the other day. Of course, he had a lot of health problems on top of that, which made him, you know, an easier target. But did it change the way that I feel like I'm going to deal with it? No, because it's a virus. You can only do so much. And then at a certain point, what you do becomes damaging. 10-9 says, nothing is right with the case. I guess even the park rangers threw a fit. He's been working 20 years, and there's no way they didn't find the evidence. Media will paint it they'll paint whatever picture they want. I think people in our nation are waking up to the fact that we have potentially been lied to for a very long time. And it's bad, but I've got friends in Canada that are waking up to it now, and I've got friends in Australia that are awake to it but can't voice an opinion because the popo will show up at their house if they voice an opinion online. So then you just have to think about how free are we, and at the end of the day, are we all just pawns, you know, and can be used in any way to hide whatever needs to be hidden so that whatever story can be told. It just makes you wonder. It makes you wonder how expendable we are. And Joe Biden now picking up that poor disabled guy named Brandon, and he's met with the disabled young man or little guy named Brandon, And he's doing it purely so that now when people say, let's go Brandon, he can say, oh, well, you're cheering about my little disabled friend that I'm making life better for through my many, you know. He's not doing anything to make Brandon's life better. He just picked Brandon so he could rebrand what's being yelled at him. And it's just petty. I mean, petty. I mean, you have what, a 27 to 37% approval rating? And the only thing you have time to do is find a disabled man by the same name that's being yelled at you as a code words for other things. I just honestly think if I ate Taco Bell Tuesday on Wednesday, I could probably crap out a better president. But just my perspective on things. That was really rude. But that's just how I feel. So I can only tell you how I feel, and that's how I feel some days. But yeah, I feel like all the news stories here lately have all been just theater, just theatrics to keep our heads in the sand or to keep us turned the other way so something else can take place. And I'm just kind of irritated with it. Sweet Bear says it's so convenient that both were found and that there was only remains, no body, all the media attention, calling her America's daughter when there's so many missing, yeah. And the fact that the media really does tell us who we can and can't mourn. Because even if we go out and find these other people, it's, you know, and know their names, the media still dictates who en masse can be mourned by this country. And that is, I think, more prominent in a lot of people's minds now, too. I just don't know, yeah, something seems off about the whole thing. Something seems off about this Alec Baldwin story, too. Especially when you find out that they had been walking off set for a few weeks due to treatment of the staff. Hey, Priscilla. I'm here. I don't feel good. I'm fixing to go back to bed, but I wanted to make an appearance so that you knew I was alive. No, now I'm skeptical too, and my children that are young adults are skeptical. So it's not age. It's just something in the water is not quite right. 10-9 says there will always be groups of populations that will never, not believe the government. Yeah, and at this point, I am really concerned with people that have witnessed and lived through the last 18 months, yet they still will not question anything. They will not, and if you question anything, they still think you're a horrible person for questioning it. And I'm like, you've been with us the last 2 years, right? You've lived this too. Have you not felt that any of it has been strange, that any of it has been odd? Oh, Denise, bless your heart. Boy, I tell you what, I think I skirted the hospital very closely with this flare. Are you okay? It's just been a roller coaster flare. I think I'd be getting over it, and then it finally tanked me. I'm amazed at what people will become accustomed to and ask that you become accustomed to. Everybody send Denise good vibes tonight when you lay your head down to rest. It's a rough time to be sick, especially with the seasons changing and everything. And guess what started happening at my house again tonight, right after dark? And I was in a sound sleep. Same with the Daybell story. Yeah, you're right. The Daybell story was just, you couldn't have wrote a book any better. Oh my goodness. So I was sound asleep. I had come back from doing blood work and I had just crashed out. And it's been perfectly quiet in my house all summer. And nobody was around. I guess like the neighbors had gone. Like their vehicle was going out. One of their kids had picked them up. And so they were headed out as I was coming in. And so I knew that like the whole end of the road was dead. I knew I was the only one. And I just laid down to get some sleep, and I thought, well, when everybody comes back in with their loud mufflers, they'll wake me up, right? I get woke up by a... And literally opened my eyes, did not even move, and thought, I ain't playing. And I thought, did I just make myself hear that, or did I actually hear that? And then it did it again on the outside of my bedroom wall. To which I popped up and said, I don't feel like freaking dealing with this right now. Because that's who I am. And the dogs just kind of went, what the crap? Neither of them wanted to bark, or they just kind of put their ears back like, anybody else hear that? And I was like, yes, I heard it. And I am always armed, so y'all don't worry about me. But it was just strange that after all the warm season and that all the time that nothing has happened, it happened again tonight. And it was a big boom, boom, boom. And then I think the second time it happened, I think there were 4. And so I was awake at that point, so I got on up and sat up for a little while. Looked out and about, couldn't find nothing. Again, none of my barn cats that normally come to the house in the evenings for a little snack, they're nowhere, can't be found. It's just really weird that happens on the strangest nights. And it's just like, seriously, I don't have time to deal with this. I'm mustering all my energy just to get through the day. So if you want me to muster energy to be upset or terrified or even mildly like concerned, you're pushing it. Because I just don't have the energy to care at this point. So messaged the husband. I was like, something banged on the house again. I was like, I can't see nothing. I don't feel like looking anymore. So if you come home and I'm not here, you know, something got me. And he just laughed because it would take something big to pack me off. It's a rough time of year to be sick though, because of when the weather changes and everything. Oh, it just messes your body up anyway, and so then it's just you feel 10 times as bad. So, so I guess tomorrow or over the weekend I'm gonna try to call the lady up the road and see if things have started happening at her house again, or if they ever stopped, because they stopped here almost all summer. Nothing happened. And normally when it's a black bear, they have more of a lumbersome, oops, I ran into the side of the house, or oh, I might want to look up here. You know, they have a kind of cumbersome movement to them. And they only get really forceful and really like definitive movement when they get really animated by food or by something they want. So I don't know what it is, but I have cameras out. And we have cameras that send video and pictures to our phones too. And so I'm fixing to move those puppies so that I can do some active monitoring, because where it is, the house camera can't see. And I don't want to wire up another camera and have to worry about DVR and all that crap. So I'm probably just going to get another camera that sends pics and videos to my phone and mount that puppy high at an angle and see what happens. So yeah, that started again at my house. And then like an hour later, I heard the neighbors come back in. Their family dropped them back off. So I know nobody was home. So, and it's the coldest evening we've had in probably a month. So something's roaming again. There was at one point I thought possibly the fence and stuff, it was a fisher that was coming up trying to get the cats or something, because we'll have like the rogue fisher come through every once in a while. But then when things started hitting on the house, I knew it couldn't be a fisher because it was too much of a bang for a fisher. So I don't know what it is. When I figure out what it is, it will be laying in the yard somewhere, and it will weigh slightly more with the lead I put into it, because I'm irritated now. That's just how I roll. I'm irritated now. But I started watching a channel. Well, I've watched it for a while, but he finally posted a video that he may have removed by now. Logic and something. I watch him on Rumble a lot because of the stuff he posts gets removed. He had some interesting theories about everything that's going on. We have black bear that come through here a lot. I mean, we have a pretty healthy black bear population. And right now, my son is like on his trail cams, he's got like a big 400 or 500. I mean, it's huge, big old boar bear, huge, and he's wanting to try to harvest it during hunting season. But we only have a few bear days around here. But we have a very healthy and growing bear population, and so you get the rogue bear, especially juveniles. They like to come mess with stuff and cause problems. But whatever this is, just loves to bang on my house, and it just does not sound like a cumbersome bear. So, Cuckoo, leave stuff alone. Is it true that there are dogs made of coyotes? And yeah, they're coy dogs. We have coy dogs around here. Mostly what happens is they'll pull a rogue domesticated dog into their pack, but they won't let it live very long. They might keep it, and it might mate a couple times, then they'll kill it. Coyotes are they're picky about who are in their packs, but like you'll end up with the coyote getting some of the domesticated properties of the dog mixed in, but the coyotes still look like timber wolves around here because they're pretty much just pure coyote. But it's illegal to have a coy dog, so if you know of coyotes that are interbreeding, or you see a pack that has rogue dogs with it, you're supposed to notify the wildlife resource agencies. They can trap them and dispatch them because they're dangerous. They're super dangerous. They're much more aggressive than regular coyotes. They don't have the fear of people. And it's illegal to possess a coy dog or to attempt to possess a coyote and attempt to create coy dogs, because there's a black market for everything these days. But yeah, and around here we have a lot of Great Pyrenees for livestock animals, and so when the Great Pyrenees get loose, you can imagine. So a lot of people, if they have livestock Great Pyrenees that are not really domesticated dogs, they're kept to maintain sheep or goats or other livestock. So they're not the friendliest of dogs, but they may cover 300-400 acres of livestock. If they get out, get loose, and turn rogue, a lot of farmers would just dispatch them themselves, because rather than, it's safer to do that than have them breed in with the coyotes and create mammoth coyotes, because our coyotes are already, some of them are a healthy 65 plus pounds. And of course you'll see with what David traps during the winter and some of his hides, some of them are even bigger than that. So yeah, they're getting potentially hefty again around here, so we have to be super careful. But yeah, coy dogs are a true thing. It doesn't happen often, but it does. When it does happen, it's very dangerous. And they're illegal, so no one can possess them or try to catch a coyote and breed them, because, like I said, there's a black market for everything now. We just have rogue coyotes, and they're a pain in the butt, and that's why David traps, because we have coyote numbers that are so bad that domesticated animals end up paying the price during the winter. And so TWRA gives out David's info for beavers that are like flooding people's places, and for people that have coyotes that are coming up and taking their cats and their dogs. So he traps everything to keep people safe, basically. So that's what he spends his winters doing. Still, I haven't looked at anything. I woke up by knock on the end of the house and sat up for a minute and decided I'd do this, but I have a feeling I'm going to go back to bed really soon because I have no energy. I just do not feel well. I feel like I'm better. My body's better. Like my hands work today, and I don't feel like yesterday I was wobbly like I was inebriated. I just don't feel good. But I'll try to catch up on stuff tomorrow. I just don't feel good tonight. I just wanted to come on and say Brian Laundrie's found. He's dead. I have questions about all of that. Alec Baldwin shot the movie producer or director. And then Ricochet or Shrapnel got someone else. I have questions about that. And then apparently my home has become the knock center of the universe again. It's irritating. I'm going to figure out what it is, though. I'll tell you what, it's been a rough last 3 days, and Denise, I'm sorry you were sick, and I keep telling my husband, I said, if we don't have a local hospital anymore, so I have to go to the nearby county, and my doctor has to call and beg them to admit me, and they basically will not admit anyone. Not anyone that can't give them $17,000 extra, with each admittance. And so I have just tried to tough through the flares. This flare was like a roller coaster ride. It would hit just a little bit, and I think, okay, it's leaving. Then it hit again. I think, okay, it's leaving. Then it would hit again. And I was like, dadgummit, either flare or leave me alone. And then it just went kaboom and took me out. And then I also had a very close friend pass away. And so that might have been part of it, what it finally got me. I think my body may have just given up emotionally there for a moment and just let it take over. So it's going to take me a few days to get my energy and gumption back. But I wanted to show face, let us know I'm kicking. And I'll be back to normal mischief here soon. It just takes me a while to get back to it all. I just don't feel very good. I'm fixing to curl up in the recliner and watch some TV with Cuckoo, with Kazi, because that is about all I'm capable of right now. If I have any more knocks on the house, I will let you know. And if I can find the news media post about the 9 other bodies found, which they said, I believe they said women too. I believe they'd identified them enough to know they were women. I will post that and share that. I've just been reading a lot when I wake up, and then I don't, like, normally I take notes. I write it all down, and I've just felt so bad I've not done any of that. So normally I try to share stuff a little bit better than I have, but I will start paying attention and try to give links so that you all can read up on that stuff, because it's just, I feel like I am in Narnia. I've walked through the wardrobe and come to a place of make-believe. I don't believe anybody. I don't know, it just seems like the world here lately is just not making sense to anyone. And the people that it does make sense to seem like they're just completely off the wall, in a haze, and happy about everything, and almost programmed to be a specific way where they're not having their own thought pattern. And it's just weird. Well, you can message me, and when I feel good, I'll check in. I'm just tired. I know as soon as I turn this off and lay down, I will be asleep in 5 minutes. $10.9, yeah. A lot of people have come to that, but it's like, instead of them learning to embrace life, they have almost stopped living. And it's like, whoa, y'all went the wrong direction there, because what is it to have a life where you live to 100 if you have no experiences? Like, what's the point? What's the point if you never get hugged and you never have a close friend and you never, I mean, what's the point? And so, I don't know. I feel like half the population is programmed, the other half is wondering what the crap's going on. And the few of us that are loud enough to speak out are getting heckled to death. And, I don't know. But I did watch something, and I watched a very interesting video on YouTube. And the guy that made it said it will probably be taken down within a week or two, because it's normally what happens to his work. But it was just crazy enough that it made me go, huh. Oddly, it all makes sense, even though it's completely crazy. But it just made sense. And I thought, I'm entertaining everything. I'm going to put it in the entertaining pile with everything else. And I'm just going to kind of lock it to the back of my memory and monitor. And I think I have that link saved, so I may put that in the community post when I get done here. And you all can start. Yeah, they're going to shadow ban and get rid of me because I don't fit. I mean, I'll be gone before too long, I'd say, because I don't fit the narrative. And I'm not pushing what they want to be sold. So I probably will end up on Rumble or BitChute if I end up anywhere. But until then, y'all know you can find me at Hillbilly Furs on Facebook. And then the husband is getting his Etsy store, which is Hillbilly Heart Decor, I believe. He's getting it up and going. So those are 2 other places. And I'm on Instagram, Isby Waters. I'm amazed I fly under the radar as much as I do, but I think it's my accent and they can't figure out what I'm saying. I really do think that's it. But, well, I'm fixing to go lay back down because I feel really, really just craptastic today. But at least I did, like, Lane checked on me and brought Shay to visit me. I did that, perch me up. But I'm tired now. And I've been tired all evening. So I'm going to just be tired and let my body be tired and go to bed and just snore. And hopefully tomorrow will be a better day. But I wanted to check in and let you all know about what I've been hearing. Cuzzy, I will spank a butt. He has found the Velcro on the recliner and he is just in love. Like, he doesn't understand Velcro, but he loves it. So that's going to be something else I'm going to have to train out of my puppy. Oh, Lord. But I'm fixing to go curl up and watch some TV and then go, probably I'll doze off, but then I'm going to go to bed. And I'll check in tomorrow and let you all know how I'm doing. Denise, I hope you feel better tomorrow and you recoup this weekend. This weekend is going to be a lot about just feeling better for me as well. Y'all can see how tired I am. You can see the big, without makeup, I look like I've just been hit with rat shot or buckshot. It's pathetic. But that's what my flares do to me. So, I'll be back to my normal mischief in a few days. Just gotta get my energy back. Just gotta, my nerve signals and muscles have to chill out. So, but just wanted to check in. There's the news for the day. There's my questions for the day. There's my ramblings about something's knocking on the goddamn house again. We'll figure it out together. I'm going to email Scott Carpenter again, though. Because y'all, I'm not crazy, but I've been in the woods my entire life, and I've ruled out all behavior. And Cuzzy, no ma'am. I've ruled out all behavior and all animals, even eagles, fisher, which are like, only make a rare presentment. I'm really thinking of maybe a woolly booger at this point, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't know what else it would be. And I have had some really weird vibes some days when it happens. And I'll have the weird vibe all evening, and then something will happen in the evening. So it makes me wonder. And I have emailed Scott Carpenter once before, and he let me know that a lot of the light issues on the fence and stuff, that he had other people send stuff in like that. But that I had to rule out everything else first. And so I've ruled everything else out first, and I can't figure out what this is. But whatever it is, knows that it irritates the heck out of me. And I may email Scott Carpenter back and let him know it started up again. And again, I'm not going to rule it. Just going to throw it in the possible pile of, I'm going to entertain that thought. And if he has any ideas about how to monitor or try to see if that's something that could potentially be going on here, which would rock my world, but hey, whatever, if that's what it is, we'll deal with it. Because I'm getting real tired of putting all these gorgeous lights on my fence line and then having them killed in succession up the fence line every other night. They cost money. So we're going to have a talk about that. But I'm at the point where the world doesn't make sense, so I'm starting to look at every avenue possible. So, hey, I'm not ashamed to admit it. It seems like in the last 2 years, there's a whole bunch more possibilities floating out there in the great big ether. So I might as well look at them all. And sometimes I can talk about those depending on how I use my accent. It takes them long to figure out what I've said, I swear it does. But yeah, if y'all got any woolly booger stories, let me know, because honest to gosh, don't know. I mean, I've had eagles land on my roof and scratch down the tin, and I've been like, what the heck is that? Now that's an eerie sound, but I went outside with a gun and a spotlight and went, oh, it's an eagle. Well, that was funny. We get the odd bird of prey around here because we have a tannery and a fur shed in the backyard. So they come around because they think, ooh, food source. And they're like, oh, no, just the skin. So we, you know, and I grew up in the woods, and I've been in the woods during ginseng season and had weird things happen, you know. So I'm you know, I'm one of those never say never people. But whatever has been making issues here has been doing it in succession, following the water supply in this area. And whatever it is needs to realize that I ain't going to play, and it's going to have a 7 mag pointed up between his eyes, because I'm just at the point where I'm not in a playful mood. And we do not need to poke Elizabeth. She's not in a good mood. But I have had probably $300 worth of damage done in just my solar lights, because I keep them all around the top of my lights because I want to see a break in the light if I have someone in my yard, because I put people in prison for 7 years. I think like that. And as soon as my husband moved the wood pile, which opened up the fence line, as soon as he had moved the wood and that fence line became open, they'd kill that light. Whatever it was would kill that light. So it would go up the fence line about every 5th day. When he would move a couple of 3 brick of wood, the lights would die. I replaced them. They did it again. But they all went out almost immediately that time. And I was like, oh, crap, you're expensive. Whatever you are, you're troubling and you're expensive. I've got cameras, we've got motion activated, we've got video, we've got the ones that send it to our phones. We've got one that DVRs, but it catches mostly the front of the house, except for this one corner is so tall over here that it's the only place when you angle it, it can't see, and that's the way it comes. Makes me so mad. And we've got other cameras set up, but they all get knocked or spun or thrown on the ground. And I am literally thinking, like my son now, since he can climb trees, I'm literally thinking about running a cable and hoisting about 3 trail cams and putting them on cables pointing different ways and letting them all be the ones that send me the pictures and the videos immediately to my phone. And I'm just going to sit on patrol because I'm getting irritated. I mean, I'm one of those, okay, cut through the property if that's what you need to do, but leave me the hell alone. I mean, we got bear and coyotes and everything to run through. It's not like I don't mind wildlife coming through. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Yeah, you and I sound very familiar. You have trip sensors in your yard. You and I sound very, very familiar. You know, I sent people to prison for 7 years. I have odd ways of letting people in my yard at night know that I know they're there, whether they want me to know it or not. And my husband gets really irritated with me. But I am the queen of booby traps. So I like to know what's going on. And we get bobcats and coyotes and everything. And, you know, I like to know if I have a cat come at me from something from the barn, I want to know what took it. Normally an owl is the culprit, but I want to know what took it. See? You probably know all the same tricks I know. But, yeah, it's just been really odd. And people will be like, don't talk about that. People will think you're crazy. I really don't give a crap if people think I'm crazy. Come live in my house for about 2 months and be on the toilet at 12:30 at night and have something beat on the wall so loud that it jars stuff off your shelf. And what really ticked me off, it was like a little log cabin home interior thing that my grandmother gave me before she died. Not like boom, and I was like, really? And so it just irritated me. And bears have come through and they'll kind of get up on that, because we got log cabin sidings. They'll kind of get up and scratch sometimes, but they have a very cumbersome movement style, if you've ever heard a black bear. And so whatever this is very determined to tick me off. And so I try not to react, and I try to just go out and sweep a lot and have a gun. I'm basically always armed, but to let it know that I'm not playing. And everything had stopped after I got really mad and went out and kind of preached a sermon and threw a fit. And it all stopped. And then it got warm and it just seemed like it all stopped for good. And now tonight it started up again. So I'm going to be calling all the people that live up this creek, this waterway, and see what's going on. Let me tell you what. You supervise meth offenders for any amount of time and you're going to learn some booby traps. I mean, you're going to learn some. Now, I'm not putting anything lethal out, but I'm going to get a solid picture, or I'm going to get a solid scream out of somebody. I'm going to know they're there. Oh no, whatever it is hitting my house. Is striking my house. It sounds like knuckle wraps, big honking knuckle wraps. Like my husband is a big burly, 6 foot, 250-pound man, and it sounded like he was very mad at me, had locked himself out, and was beating on the house for me to get my butt out of the bathroom and open the door for him. And so I came up the hallway going, act like somebody when you come home. You lock your daggone butt out of the house. It's your own sorry fault. Don't beat on the edge of the house. Scare the crap out of me, Slung up that door and there was nobody. And I step out and I'm looking and he crests the hill. So I know it wasn't my husband. And it's one way in, one way out. I know it wasn't anyone else. Because they would have had to have passed him. So at this point I'm just like, okay. But it's very like, whenever you put the cameras out, it's very savvy about cameras. Black bears are normally more dangerous because if a black bear comes after you, they want to eat you. A grizzly is more territorial. They'll bluff charge you, and if you just kind of don't present as a threat or curl up and say leave me alone, they'll toss you around a little bit and walk away. But I've always been taught that if a black bear charges you, it's because they want to kill you and that you need to fight for your life. And we have black bears come through. It's not odd to have a juvenile that likes to follow the waterway, and then we just stop at the barns and see if there's anything to eat, and, just be an opportunistic little turd. But whatever this is, was stronger than my husband. But it had a knuckle wrap on the wall. It had a knuckle bone contact. So, well, if it was someone trying to scare me, I don't think somebody would try to scare me because they all know I'll shoot them dead. If you've met me in real life, I just don't play. Like, you come on my property, and I'm always armed. And because I put people in prison for so long, I take anyone that comes on my property without permission as a threat, and I respond accordingly. So I don't think anybody would really be messing with me. And I've put out through my pipelines, through my parolees, and through my little networks. If you're messing with me, you mess with the wrong person, because I'm not shooting buckshot. So I'm not playing. But it seems to be when there's a shift in like the rut and the deer pattern, it seems to follow the deer pattern. And so that's one thing I have noticed. Well, it couldn't be, a deer, it couldn't be a deer. It would leave mark or sign or something. And it would be on all the cameras, as big as they are to take a trail to come up to that house, to the corner of the house, to the front of the house. What I don't understand is when I have cameras, and when those things happen, all my cameras are either twisted down to the ground, turned around the other way. Obviously they've been manipulated. And it's like they've not been triggered, but they've been manipulated. I don't get that. Like, I've had trail cameras my entire life, and I don't understand that. It just blows my mind. I'm in Tennessee, but I'm up on the plateau close to Kentucky. So I'm in a very wooded, rural, isolated area. And I've been told that there's a family of them, one that's very rogue and robust and mean. And I trail rode in the area and ginsenged in the area and had some very bad experiences in the area that I didn't know what they were, but I just knew I needed to get me and my pony and everybody else out of there because we were in a bad place. And then come to find out, I had an old man tell me I didn't need to ride alone down there anymore because he's like, there's a big old wood booger down there. And he was like, it's big male and you don't need to be down there. Well, then, I just kind of, I was a young teenager, just let that go. And then years later, my brother ran a hunt club on the area. And while I was out putting signs up, and there's a lot of caves and stuff in the area, and so we would ride way back in and post the edge so that people would not trip over into other people's property, because it was so much property. And we got way back in there one day, and we just got the weirdest vibe, and we turned around and come out. It was just the weirdest vibe. It was like the woods fell silent, and it was just something was not right, and we turned around and come out. We've been in the woods our whole lives. I've coon hunted in the woods since I was tiny, since 8 or 9, and been left alone in a leaf pile covered up and told to take a nap till they come back because my little legs couldn't travel as far to go get the dogs and come back. So I'm not scared of the woods or anything in the woods. But I've had some weird happenings, and then I was ginseng with my husband in that area, and we kept hearing something walk the bench above us, the ridge above us on the bench we were working, but we never could see anything. But we just felt pushed, like we needed to go home, like we were getting pushed out of there. And so we left. And about 3 years later, there was a man that took missing. And they just found him. They found him last year. They found his skull last year, but they just confirmed it about a month ago that it was him to his family. And so something got him. And, I mean, they only found his skull, and it was packed like 7 miles. Because it funnels in, there's a big cliff line on this side, a bluff line that goes for miles, and this is the only way in, and you follow a few haulers that funnel down to the river, and then you have to follow the river out because it's bluff line and sheer bluff on this side, and you're on the river, and then there's about 3 forks that you come out, and once you get down in there, you're stuck until you get to the other end of the ridge, which is miles, or you come back out the way you came. And so nobody really goes that far down in there because if you get hurt, there's not a way to in and out. And I cut trails all along the top, on top of the ridge line for years. So, for a big trail riding facility. America is a weird place. But I don't know what it could be. And like, I've been in the woods my entire life. And I've had like the odd occurrence, like when I was little, I went to work chicken houses at my grandma and grandpa's. Mama threw me out at the driveway. I was walking up the farm drive. And my little cousin had gotten a little heeler dog named Pepper, but he had a speech impediment, so he said Peppa. And when he hollered for Peppa, he would say, "Come here, Peppa." And you knew it was my little cousin calling for his dog. So I get out of the drive, and I'm like, should I go straight to the broiler houses, or should I go to the house and announce my presence? Because my grandpa had cancer and we were keeping the farm going. And as I was at the fork in the road in the driveway, I heard, "Come here, Peppa," up by Grandma's little pretty decorated chicken house that she had, her little tiny hens that she had. And I stopped and looked, and it said, "Come here, Peppa," a little bit louder. And I thought, oh God, he's locked himself in Grandma's hen house. So I went to the house, and it just felt weird when kind of like I was getting squeezed when I walked between the fence and the house. And I run inside, and I said, Grandma was at the stove, and I said, "Grandma, my little cousin's name was TJ. I said, he's locked himself in your hen house." And she said, "Honey, he's not here today." And I thought, I know, I heard that. And she got on to me and said, "I haven't checked eggs yet. Let's go check eggs, and we'll make sure nothing's in there." And so I went out with her to check eggs, and the hens had, they wanted out. They were up off the roost, and they were at the door. They wanted out. She let them out for the day, and we got the eggs. Couldn't tell nothing was wrong. I still didn't want to be there, but by the time I'd worked 2 broiler houses and fed the mules and the cattle, I had kind of forgot it and was dealing with the chores of the day. I squirrel hunted in there once, and I squirrel hunted for about an hour, and I just looked at my brother and said, "I'm not going any deeper in these woods, I'm leaving." And he said, "Yeah, me too." And it was very weird that either one of us would give up a good squirrel hunt when we came out. But, I've had a couple odd things like that happen. And every time I cut trails, if I took a certain trail, my horse would scent and blow at a certain spot and do a jig, and I would have to talk him through it. He did not want to go through a certain area. And that was the only area he ever did that at. He was a great horse. I rode him for 6 years flat on trails. I mean, he'd go anywhere, a little bulldozer. And it's all been around that area, but now that I'm grown, I only live about a mile from that area. And when my waterway is the only fresh waterway that's hidden by trees close to that area that can be traveled and be hidden. All the other waterways are taken over by farmers and opened up for their livestock and stuff. So I know, it just makes you wonder. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it needs to stop knocking on my goddamn house. It needs to stop killing my goddamn lights. And I told my husband he's moving all the cameras around because deer season and everything's changed. Animals change their running depending on what time of year it is, and if like deer are fixing to rut and stuff, they change their zones. And the deer changed a few weeks ago. And so now we've got some cameras back, and I said, well, let's rig them up here because I want to know what in the crap is knocking on the freaking house. I mean, you can tell by the way I'm acting, I'm not terribly scared about it. My God, I've lived in the middle of nowhere for years. If something wants to get you, it's going to get you. But I just like to be left alone. And when I'm asleep, I don't like to be woke up by something beating on the side of my house. I just think it's not nice and neighborly. If you're going to shuffle through the woods and shut up and leave me alone. If you're going to knock on my house, we're going to have problems. So, but neither of my dogs, when it happens, every time it happens, and it's happened probably 4 or 5 times now, when it does happen, my dogs will not bark. They will hide under something if possible, but they will not bark. But they want me to investigate, but they don't want me to know around it, and they don't want to bark. So, and normally my dogs will yip. If they think somebody's here, they will do a little dance and want by the door, and they don't care who it is as long as it's somebody. They love company. They don't want nothing to do with this. And I think that's weird too. So, I'll figure it out one day. Might be in the followed by an oh crap I wish I never knew, but I'll figure it out one day. But I done told my husband, and he was like, "Well, try not to kill nothing before the time I get home." And I was like, but it's chilly here tonight. It's like in the 40s, but I didn't want to tend to fire, so I just cranked the heat up. And so whatever it is, it only does this route on chillier nights, because it's normally either the first really crispy fall nights or it's the butthole below winter nights when I have the biggest problems. And it's never on a full moon. It's always on the darkest nights. So, you know, it's got to be a waxing or a waning, and it's never on a full. Really? I wonder if you could have somebody come out and check that. I guess that's the good thing about living in the middle of nowhere. You kind of know all the sounds. And we live really simple, so we don't have a whole lot of, you know, like there's not a lot of electrical machinery and stuff. One thing that I do know that bothers me is right over adjacent to us is the power line access. And so a lot of animals use that to travel, especially in the cold season. And so I told my husband, I said, that's why we get a lot of bear and stuff. They'll come up the waterway, and then they'll hit the power line access, and straight down the hill they go to where they can hide. And it's like a super highway, because animals are lazy. They will take a man-made venture if at all possible. But other than that, that's the only thing we have. And there's not a lot of people that live around here. I mean, it's sprinkled, but there's not a huge, dense population. I'd have somebody check that. If you've got gas or something, I'd definitely have somebody check that. Yes, I know what else they say, use power line trails. I mean, I'm of the age and of a mindset that I know there's things in the woods that I don't know. I've been in caves. I caved a lot when I was a teenager. And just being in some of those, I mean, then we got some really scary places in this area, because it's, you know, it's the middle of nowhere. And we got a lot of places. We got a lot of caves where people hid out from, like, the FBI and stuff. Something other, Jimmy Dean Anderson or something other hid out from the FBI here in a cave down the hill, just about 10 minutes from my house. He hid in a cave from the FBI. We got a lot of caves over on that place where I said that the guy said that one big rogue male lives. But I've been in the woods enough to know that I'm not top of the food chain, and there's lots of stuff out there, and I need to watch my back. But I don't know exactly what exists, but it doesn't mean I want to find out. But I certainly would like to be left alone. Yeah, if those electric meters are humming, I don't know, I'd have somebody come look, you know, because they could have a bad connection, and they could be trying to ground out. Well, now, if you go down the hill, a lot of people do use the power lines to bore sight in their rifles and stuff. But, I mean, we all know where it is, and it's kind of like community property. We all know. But now, for an odd reason, nobody ever does anything around, like that property. They tried, the property where all the woolly booger crap happened. A very few people will ginseng it, not many. I'm one of the few that have. But they tried to like populate it and build like cabins, rough style rustic cabins back in there. Nobody would buy, or they would buy them within 6 months. They were selling and out, but nobody would say why they were selling and leaving. Like there's $1 million log homes built like 2 miles back on a ridge, and the people that built them left high and dry. There's still stuff in the yard. So, you know, there's some curiosities around here for sure. And, you know, like they're people from like New York or Chicago that wanted a vacation home, and I guess they bit off more than they could chew because they don't want to live here after all. But there's like 6 homes that have been built that were left and put up, and they're still up for resale. Nobody will buy them. And I've been told that's the reason nobody will buy them. But, you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt and go on. But I will say I've been in those woods, and I've been in 12, probably a 7 to 12 mile stretch of those woods on that bluff line. And the right side, closer to my house now, had a lot more issues, a lot more weird structures, weird happenings than the other side. Yeah, and you know how, like on cold, crisp nights, you know how yells will go, they'll cut longer through the night. There used to be a youth camp where we lived in the woods, cut timber, built our cabins, cooked over the fire, and it was for juvenile delinquents, basically kitty felons. And it was backed up by 4,000 acres of wilderness. And I had the girls out one night, and we were hiking back to camp, and we were hearing coyotes yipping. The coyotes were kind of trailing us to camp, and they did that often. And they never bothered us, but we always got to camp, not a problem. And there was a call that cut out at the hind side of the coyote calls that was not a coyote. And I told the girls that night that we were not going to build a fire and do the little nightly ritual powwow thing, that we were just going to go to bed. And I did that to get them in their tent so I could call my security in earlier and get them there. And when I got the guys there that had to set watch at night, I said, I'm sitting up with you because I heard something scream on this ridge. And they looked at me and they said, yep, that's happened 3 times this week. And I said, do we know what it is? And he said, nope. Well, we all kind of knew what we thought it was, but we never figured out what it was. But whatever it was would only sound off. It would never come into camp. It would only sound off. So, but it sounded like, honestly, it sounded like a lion and a water buffalo got together to make a horrible yell, and then it trailed off almost into a melodic tone. It was the weirdest sound that I ever, and so it would start kind of hinking around with the coyote calls, and then it would go into this big super blast that sounded like a lion Cape buffalo tangle up, and then it would go back out into the melodic tone and fade away. But I put the girls, that was the one night I had the girls. I normally had the guys, the boys, and I put the girls down early and called my security in because whatever it was wigged me out a little bit. But they, you know, as far as I know, nothing ever broke bounds because we had perimeter surveillance there too. But we had a lot of stuff that would, voice, like screams that would be on the night surveillance tapes. And so the guy that would review everything would be like, did you hear this one? And we would be like, yeah. And so he would save them, and we'd be like, yeah, it was a pretty good one. We'd only hear about 3 or 4 a year though. But they were, I mean, it sounded louder than a cow could beller. So whatever it had to have a diaphragm that was huge. That was all that my mind was like. It has to have a diaphragm that's ginormous because it can take these big deep bellers bigger than a cow. And it had a growl at one end, and then it had a whistle at the other. And I was like, that does not make sense. So I don't know. But like, I would be asleep and I'd wake up and the little skunk would come through, and he would want to get the slop bucket. Where we fixed our meals out, we had to save slop buckets and bring the slop buckets up and pour them into the recycling bin. They had to go somewhere. And that little skunk would come up about 2 a.m. every night to get into the slop bucket. And I always noticed that on the nights that there was something else going on, we were hearing stuff, he was always late or didn't show up. But he was there every other night otherwise. It's the strangest thing. But, I mean, I've heard a lot, but, like, physical, like, I've seen, no, I've not seen anything. I have nothing I can show you that I could prove the existence of anything. I just have had some really weird experiences in the woods. But, I mean, I've also been coon hunting and had a big mountain lion scream right beside me and scare the crap out of me, and the dogs beat me back to the truck, which I thought was really crappy of them since I fed them. They beat me back to the truck. So there's not been a lot that I haven't been subjected to around here, but I cannot figure out what in the crap this is. Tennessee is, I mean, it's a pretty quiet place. We just have some weird stuff. Oh, my son's, sorry, I had to let my son know he could stop by. I'm gonna have him look around while he's here too. Because if it is a bear running around, it will have left sign somewhere to drug something out, or they are such destructo mongos, and he's armed all the time. Hang on, he's wanting to know again. Okay. But yeah, I'm open to anything, but yeah. Just kind of weird that it started back up again tonight when I don't feel well. Anyway, Lane's going to stop by for a minute. I'm sure he needs something in one of the buildings or something. I'll have him look while he's here. And then I'm going to bed. If something gets me, David will have to tell you on another day. Because it won't be me if something got, so. I ain't putting no freaking pies in the window. I couldn't do that on a normal day because I'd get God untelling come through that. We have a den of foxes over the hill. My house would be full of everything. We literally have everything around here. But the most annoying are the bobcats. The foxes run a close second. And the freaking eagles that show up in the wintertime because they nest down on Del Hollow and then they venture around. The eagles tear up everything. They're pretty, they're gorgeous, they're majestic, and they're pains in the butt. Because they're huge and they can move 30 to 40 pounds worth of stuff, and they'll just try to pack your backyard sofa, your wicker sofa off in the backyard because they like the color of the pillow. I have strategically placed firearms in my house. I also put people in prison for 7 years. I'm tired. I feel better since I talked to you though, but I'm so tired. So I'm going to deal with Lane for whatever he's stopping by for, and then I'm going to crash. Oh, you're fine. Million Mile. I was just checking in because I just wanted you to know I was live. We've had an interesting conversation, but I've got to cut this one short because Lane's stopping by, probably to check on me. Well, people think, you're crazy if you believe these, but there's a lot of lore in this area about that. And I'm not too far removed from the whole Janice King lady that lived on a farm with him for 50 years. Her dad was. So I'm not too far removed from that. If you've ever wanted to hear a really good Bigfoot story, look up Janice King, Mary Green, Tennessee, DeKalb County. It'll spook you, but I'm not too far removed from there, so that'll be something for us to look up to. So give a listen to that and then tell me what you want to hear, what you want to say about it. But there's a lot of lore in the area, but I take it with a grain of salt and go on. But I know I'm not top predator, but it's okay. I have pea shooters. It evens it out. I'm going to get off here and I'm going to go and make sure I can yell at him to swing around the backyard and look while he's here, see if there's been a bear come through. And I will check in with you tomorrow if I feel like it. Night, y'all. I'm going back to bed.